Hello everyone, how are we doing today? I'm Wardy and I'm with another YouTube exclusive, and it's another one of these War Chest Team League casts. Believe it or not, it features Serral again because you guys seem to really like enjoying Serral. So you know what, I figured it's a waste not to cast these Serral games if they're just sitting in my replay folder and I've not casted them yet. So Serral is the pink Protoss. Nope, he's not. He's the pink Zerg in the bottom right hand side. That's because I was thinking about the Protoss. The red Protoss in the bottom left, PartinG. And this is going to be exactly the same as my last two War Chest Team League videos. If you watch them, excuse me while I quickly fix the health bars here. So this is the exact same as my last two War Chest Team League videos in the sense that this is actually Serral versus PartinG. They actually played twice. And if I'm not mistaken, it's actually the same scenario as when I did the Serral Clem video, where this was actually two different matches and they both played in the ace match. So I think this was actually one of the, maybe even the opening match of the War Chest Team League. So this game is a little bit older. I think it was played end of July-ish. It's currently end of August now. So maybe this is probably the oldest replay I've ever cast, by the way. But the second game is a little bit more recent. That was played middle of August, I think August 16th playoff day. And again, both times it was Serral and PartinG's team, Pig versus Maynard. And they sent out Serral and they sent out PartinG for the ace match both times that they met, in the group stage and in the playoffs. So these are just singular games, so it will be two maps. They are not linked to each other in the sense that this is not a best of three. So if you see Serral win the first game and the second game's 5 minutes long, no, it doesn't mean Serral wins 2-0. Because I've had a lot of people complaining about that, and trust me guys, no, these are two separate games. It doesn't matter how the first one goes or anything. It's just two maps on separate occasions. And yeah, like I said, I've kind of enjoyed doing this format. You guys seem to enjoy the Serral videos, so I figured why the hell not do it one more time here while we have another Serral versus PartinG video. Let's just do it, right? Let me know in the comments if you disagree. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed. I know a lot of you guys enjoyed the last couple. And of course, if you are enjoying, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'd love to see you guys return and watch more videos in the future. We are fast approaching 30k subs, and for that, I can only say thank you from the bottom of my heart once again for all of your awesome support. As we get going here, Serral and PartinG, nothing crazy to begin with, and it's funny because if you watch the Serral versus PartinG series from the Doyu Cup, that must have gone up like about a couple of weeks ago now, maybe a little bit more. But that series was very interesting from Serral. You know, he really wanted to open 12 pool a lot. He was very afraid of a lot of the aggression that PartinG might have brought to the table. And it was kind of scary to kind of see Serral trying to play so weird. So this is Serral just playing a little bit more regular from the start and even going Overlord speed, which against someone like PartinG, you can't ever really doubt, right? You know, Overlord speed is like okay, you're going to get information on somebody that likes to play tricky, that will do different things against you, and will do pretty much anything to take a win. So, I like it. You know, from Serral, it just says safe, standard, pretty simple, not really many questions to be asked, as the Robo facility dropping down is about halfway done. A couple of gateways coming up from PartinG as well, and a warp gate coming in on the side of core with a resonating glaives upgrade. Already chrono boosting out of this Twilight Council. So again, that resonating glaives up and running. This is just going to be seen. Link speed still ticking along. This hatchery on the third base is looking all right. And we do have our creep spread continuing to push down through into the center of the map. So creep spread still pushing down the middle. And yeah, honestly, I mean, it's a very regular game. So I actually think this is maybe worth mentioning a little bit, though, because you guys, obviously, if you're following StarCraft 2 super closely, Glaives is still a thing in PvZ, but it's not as popular as it was. So the fact that this game is maybe a little bit older than what we would usually cast, I think it's fair to kind of remind ourselves of what the meta situation was maybe when this was played. And like I say, it's not too different, but we have generally moved away a lot from Glaives now to more kind of like Dark Templar opening, or just Stargate openings and so on. So that's something to just keep in mind, I guess. Just not that I think that this game is still, you know, this could still be a game that was played yesterday, right? Glaives, like I said, is still popular, but it is very well figured out, and that's why we're seeing Serral just turn up into Lings and Roaches. And I think with it being very well figured out, it's just one of those, I just don't want people to be saying, oh, PartinG, why are you doing this thing that everybody knows how to deal with? Because to be fair, everyone's been doing this since March as well, so it's not like an extra couple of weeks really made much of a difference in it phasing out, but it has been that slow process of disappearing. As we do see a Roach or two popping out, so Roach is on the way in plenty of time. Serral going for that 39 drone defense. He actually chooses to counterattack with all of these Zerglings, which is definitely a little bit scary. He actually decides to pull them back, a little afraid of what these Adepts might do. Walls off on the natural, so he doesn't let the Adepts in. And that means the Adepts are very limited as to what they can do. Serral doesn't have the drones to mine from a third base anyway. So the most the Adepts can do right now, apparently, is hit the hatchery, which honestly just isn't really that great. Serral has gone back across the map with the Adepts. With the Zerglings. He is watching for a third base. And Adepts actually warp in from home from PartinG. So he absolutely wants to take a third base. That's exactly what he's bidding for there. And that's actually a good play because he needed he actually needed 4 Adepts to deal with that amount of links. So well done by PartinG as he goes into a Dark Shrine and a Blink follow-up. Very typical sort of next step here. The Dark Shrine is very hit and miss as to whether the Protoss players do it, not whether it's very successful or not, but it is one of those structures where it's like you absolutely can get this a lot of the time. It is absolutely a big positive to add into play. It's very good. It's very effective. Obviously, the detection is something which the Zergs sometimes skip. In this case, it's going to be an Overseer up already, so Serral is very well prepared. But behind it, it's just very standard Blink. You get those Immortals going, and then you're into that very safe composition where the Stalkers really are going to be, the chunky part of the army. You can Blink on top of a lot of the Roaches that you forced out. And we'll see where Serral takes it from here. And Mounts is already on the field. A Baneling Nest dropping down as he says, right, I want to go into some Banes. I'm going to play like Ling, Bane, Roach Ravager. That very aggressive composition that can trade out multiple times over and have a pretty good time. There was a Dropper Lord down here that actually gets 2 probes. This is really nice. Look at this. Massive probe pull. The entire mineral line has to come off and pull away. That is actually a pretty serious dent to PartinG's economy. Look at this. It was actually pretty PartinG favored in terms of eco until now. And now it skyrockets in Serral's favor. And he comes out of this 15 workers ahead too. So it's only going to get better for him from here now that he's got his third base saturated. And PartinG is still just working on building those extra few probes to really get that saturation up. He actually lost a DT here somewhere along the way. I guess that was just at the front. And the Overseer was a big reason to being able to take that down. So that Overseer has been useful already. And again, the Ling drop back in the main. There's a couple of Stalkers there trying to fight it. Blink is done, so he's actually going to be able to blink back away from trouble and keep these Stalkers alive, which is, of course, another big positive of all of this as the Stalker comes through. And elsewhere, a couple drones still going down. The Adepts have actually decided to make a shade, and he's actually going to get himself 12 Adepts kills. 12 drone kills. God damn it, Wardy. What is with me today? I'm like saying one word and I mean the other. I'm saying one unit and it's the other. I'm saying the names wrong. Ay, ay, ay. Just gonna call myself out right there. 12 drone kills from the Adepts as we get the unit names the right way around. And that's nice. Adepts, especially at this stage, it's one of those moments where it's like, well, how much more are they going to do? How great are they in an army? Well, against Banes, yeah, they can soak a bit, but they're not going to be... It's better to get 12 workers. Now, if you lose 12 Adepts and you don't kill any workers, then obviously they're better in the army. But I actually don't mind the trade-out for 12 drones at this point. Yes, Serral just rebuilds them rather quickly, but it does kind of keep them at 3 base economy instead of already being ready to saturate 4 base. And that's a nice little positive because now he can't saturate 4 base because PartinG has a push coming. So Serral is forced to build units, and if you're being forced to build units, then you just can't drone up as freely. So it definitely is a little bit of an advantage as we'll see. This Overlord doesn't quite go down. Good force goes across the entire width of this choke point. As we're going to see PartinG continue to back away. A couple more force fields available. And he will keep those Banelings off of his back. However, he's running out of force fields, and now he might just have to actually fight this. These Banelings are getting ever so close. There is a couple final force fields remaining. He might actually have to pull back with the Prism and lift up these Immortals to save them. He does not. He actually saves the Sentries, but both Immortals, no, one Immortal is saved in the end, but super low HP. A few drones going down across the map. I'm not sure if that was a DT on an Adept or two sneaking in. That was a pretty good chase by Serral, though. He found a lot of value while chasing as he takes the next step. Going into Hive, that's halfway done. Plus 2 missiles, plus 1 melee. They are well underway. And we do also at the same time see, well, Colossi on the way up from PartinG. He actually got his Robo Bay down nice and quickly here, so he's well on his way to that. As we'll see if he can get enough up to really turn this around. He's not got a first Colossus out yet, and obviously Colossi really are this thing which work very well in some of the higher numbers that you can get to. Roach Ravager won't do much here. Bane drop in the main base, finds just 6 probes initially, and now that Overlord is going to go away to the side. Stalkers blink for it, and they will get the kill. So just the 6 probes for the moment. Another good, decent defense from PartinG. I mean, this is one of those scenarios where I'm like, well, Protoss is defending well. But Serral's already a step ahead because he's already moving into hive tech, right? He's already saying, right, you know what? Got my hive up. Gonna be able to tech up heavily from here. I think you look at that and you say, well, you know, that's kind of a nice, you know, that's a nice follow-up. It's not like he's stuck on this composition, unable to end the game, which I feel like you see a lot of the time from these guys, from the Zerg players, where they get very aggressive from a bit of a lead, and it's like, oh, I can't actually win the game here. And then the Protoss gets the 4th base up, suddenly they're slow to tech up, and they just kind of take a couple bad fights because then they just don't have the army to really fight what the Protoss is going into. I do love that we've got a couple Vipers on the way. That's obviously the tech choice from Serral on the hive. And it makes perfect sense when you've got Colossi on the way up from your opponent. Serral will have seen that Robo base. So what are the options? Disruptors or Colossi? And actually, Vipers really do answer both. And a Blinding Cloud on top of Stalkers can really go a long way, because then you Blinding Cloud the Stalkers, they're forced to kind of fight forward a little bit. And that's obviously beneficial to you as well if you want help disengaging, pushing those Stalkers back. There's definitely a couple ways to look at that. There's going to be Veins, Roaches, Ravagers chasing in right now, going for these Stalkers, which have just been trying to kite backward with the blink for pretty much the entire time here. They are going to blink forward even. Wow, PartinG really trying to find some more value out of all of these. As we're going to be seeing the Ultralisk Cavern dropping down on the natural expansions. Again, the Ultralisk Cavern started. A lot of Lings around the upper left-hand corner here, as we're going to be seeing a few extra Banes morphing. And these Stalkers of PartinG still wanting to get to the front, maybe looking for a blink down to the low ground. Ling's going to hide away to the top. Maybe for a little bit of a surround here, especially if these Stalkers are trying to blink back all the time. It's like a pretty good way to counter what PartinG is doing. As PartinG, he's really hunting Overseers as well, maybe opening chances for DTs to come back into this army. I feel like this Stalker army is getting so... It's crazy because you don't really see like 20 Stalkers just kind of wandering the map like this at this stage of a ZvP. Because usually they would just get... It just doesn't usually happen, honestly. It's very, very interesting that he's been able to do so much with this. Now he pushes up the map. He's got sentries in the plenty, so you can keep the Banes out for a while, give the Colossi more time to deal damage. Unfortunately, those Colossi will still get yoinked over force fields or not. That was a yoink on a Stalker, though, so that was a bit of a misplay. Banes flank in from the top side, but PartinG, I want to say, plays pretty good attention, but there is that little gap, so there was a way for Banelings to get in and connect, and so Serral will make this fight work, pushing PartinG back, keeping these Colossi at bay. And yeah, the Chitinous Plane is on the way up for Ultralisks. Honestly, I feel like against a higher Stalker count, Ultras are this sort of unit which they kind of get kited and they go down very quickly. But I do kind of like where Serral is at for the Ultras, because I feel like a couple Ultras counterattacking and PartinG's not really able to deal with that. And there isn't... I feel like there's not much buffer, right? So these Stalkers are going to be chasing... I don't know, I just kind of like it, I guess, as Bane's rolling over here. Apologies for missing that. 13 probes going down, and these few Banes continuing to fall. I mean, okay, that's a nice warping to save the day. But yeah, I'm just looking at this, and when I talk about Ultras, I'm like, I can just see like 5 Ultras running at this, and there not being enough Stalkers just like kite shoot, and deal with them handily. I feel like they run out of space too quickly, and that's the great thing about Ultras. If you get the Protoss player backed up against a base, they've got nowhere else to run to. Yeah, these Ultras are very much so kind of throwaway headbutty units, but they're gonna trade out for some structures, a couple of units at the very least, and it gives you a lot of space on the map. And it might just be what Serral needs to actually push PartinG back. When PartinG's been very aggressive, keeping Stalkers forward, if you can push PartinG back to his bases, that's when you're going to start getting some fights that are really meaningful, including a lot of damage. Even better if you come from 2 different sides. Again, the Ultras just taking those first few shots before they go down. Bling Bane Ravager continuing to chase. The Banes coming through here, going to be picking away at a lot of these Stalkers. The shield battery overcharge coming through to try and keep alive whatever possible as the Banes crash in, but the 4th base goes down. And that's the issue. Even if you preserve a lot of the probes here, not having a 4th base to mine from, we're 14 minutes deep in this game. No 4th base really means that you're just mining out the main, you're mining out the natural, so you're essentially on what, like 2-ish base economy right now? Maybe a little bit extra gas than what you'd get on 2 bases. As the 4th base sets up the left side. Trying to reestablish this, and guess what? Serral is already there. Straight in, cancel. He knows how important it is to just deny that 4th base. And it's more easily done when on low HP like that than at any other time. Bane, Ravager, Ultra coming through again. Still just the 1 Ultra. Very minimal addition to the army. And even I think if it just baits some Colossi shots onto itself instead of the Colossi hitting Lings and Banes, it's still turning out to be fairly valuable, as that 4th base obviously still not coming up. And now long distance mining probes are going down. as the army is pushed all the way back to the third. And now we have Infestors on the way with Neuroparasite. And at this point, yes, it's a tech up, which might actually be very nice, but it almost feels like Serral is just showing off a little bit as well. Do you really need to Neuroparasite this army, or can you just keep crashing Roachbane Ravager into it? Well, you probably can keep crashing units into it because your opponent has no fourth base. You've just settled down onto base number 6 in the next moment or two. There is no reason you really need Vipers here, in all honesty. As PartinG comes down the left-hand side, I'm just going to be seeing this Nexus setting up on the front fourth base, and a few Zealots continuing out around the bottom side as well. So Zealots around the bottom is Ling, Ravager, and a few Banelings morphing in from Serral too. A few Zealots from PartinG continuing down to the bottom side. We do have a Nexus setting up. Just going to be seeing the Spire dropping down from Serral here. So Spire on the way from Serral in the front. Just going to be seeing the Ultra trying to come through as well as Archon, doing a little bit of damage, and just going to be seeing our Infestors setting up in the back also. Still got that Ling Bane trying to find a way through. A few Lings on the bottom side. 6 probes going down. They're still not allowed a fourth base, really, right? And that's the issue. And he probably knows, for real, that that's the issue too. I like the High Templar, but he only gets 1 feedback out of 4 High Templar before the Banes crash in and kill. Well, guys, it's kind of just a numbers game, and it's a numbers game which Serral has been winning for quite some time. It's been a slow death here for PartinG, as this is going to be a round of Banelings coming from the bottom side of his army. I mean, this time it might just be it, right? These Banes are going to crash in from the bottom. A lot of these Stalkers taking a lot of damage. Super Battery saving what it can. We have Infestors showing up. They actually Neuroparasite the Immortal. Gets 1, loses it, Neurals another. Not sure how much these Neurals are really doing. I mean, Serral only has Ravagers left, so once more he has to back away, but believe me when I say he's already remaxed, right? He's ready to go again. And yeah, I mean, a couple of Ultras to show up. I mean, the Immortal count was okay-ish to maybe deal with them, but again, it's a numbers game, my friends, and this time the numbers are not on the side of PartinG, as Serral is going to keep on cleaving through for game number 1. He had a good defense early. He really turned it into some good aggression from that point on. He really, I think, important to say that he really handled well a lot of the Stalker pressure from PartinG. He really made sure you always had enough to push this army back. He was never worried about this army that was on the top side of the map or anything along those lines. Right? He never really took too much damage there. I love the fact he was making his way to the Hive so quickly. Having those Vipers was really, really useful when it came to shutting down the Colossi especially. Just a lot of good plays from Serral that really added up to a big advantage, and really no surprise in the end then that he was able to go through to take this game. And this was in the group stages, so this was the ace match win, and Pig's team got off to a flying start in the league. And then, of course, eventually Pig and Maynard's team made it through to the playoffs, and they met each other in the playoffs, and that's where our next game is going to come from. It's going to be the ace match of that playoff series. So let's dive on in and see what PartinG had to bring to the table against Serral in that one. Bottom left-hand side, on Pillars of Gold, the pink Zerg player is Serral. And I know a few of you might be mentioning, oh, pink versus red. The reason for this is that the teams in the team league had a color that each team played as. And we figured for ZvP, pink versus red was distinguishable enough still that we would roll with it. I know it's a little bit not so great on the minimap, but it was very fun actually just having like colors for the teams and having them be a certain color the whole league through. It actually really helped with kind of figuring out who was on which team, especially because this was like an all-star draft kind of format. War Chest Team League in general is really cool, guys. If you want to watch the VODs, they're all on the StarCraft YouTube channel. Definitely check them out in full. Obviously, I'm not going to cast everything, although I'll cast I think with the way that things are going and DreamHack being on right now, I'm probably going to end up casting quite a lot of the... not quite a lot, but a few more of these War Chest Team League VODs, or replays, just because I've got some upload days to fill, basically. And there were some really good games in this event, so we'll probably have a few more from this event. There's some other stuff I'm going to be casting as well, just especially with DreamHack on. Not as much to be streamed, so more time for YouTube exclusives. Hell yeah, right? Hell yeah. Top right side is PartinG, of course. So this was the ace match in the playoffs. So this was actually tournament life on the line. Do or die. Lose this and you're out. And yeah, PartinG. Apparently, I think I remember at the time that Maynard said that when it got to the ace match, PartinG just said, "Put me out, Captain, and, send me. I completely believe that I'm the team's best opportunity." And PartinG, this is a team which also consisted of Cure, I think Ragnarok and a very well, a time who actually performed really, really well in the event. So Partin really led the charge, and in a league where a lot of the ace matches, people were like, Serral, I don't really want to play. I think famously in one of the matches, Maru was like, nope, I will not play Serral in the ace match on an unpreferred server. You can send out Hero Marine instead. And I'm not going to cast this one, but spoilers in case you want to watch it somewhere else. I'll give you a moment or two to mute. I'll blah, blah, blah. And then Hero Marine went on and beat Serral. So it was kind of a it was kind of a funny occurrence, because then afterward in the Discord server that they were sharing, Mary was like, "Oh my God, Hero Marine so Gosu, best Terran, God mode." And then he actually watched the replay. Him and SOS, who were part of the team with Hero Marine, they watched this replay and they're like, "Wow, Hero Marine, you're so smart, you're so good. 200 IQ." Like, it was really funny, because I know a lot of people think Maru is maybe kind of this faceless Korean almost, right? He doesn't interact a lot with the Western scene. He doesn't speak much English or anything, right? But, this was actually a really cool insight to Maru having a good bit of fun. And I think that was the awesome thing about this league, that everyone did have a good bit of fun involved. Even the people who thought... I mean, a lot of people thought Maru had been, like, forced to play. And I was like, you think we can just force Maru to play, guys? And they're like, yeah, Maru doesn't want to play. He's just going to show up, do the bare minimum. He doesn't care. And he was actually really active in the team chat. So... was cool. And I know what you guys are going to say next. Wardy, we want to see some Maru games. Don't worry, I'm on it. I'm sure the Maru games will be next on my list when we get through a couple more of these War Chest Team League replays. So let's talk about this game. 3.5 minutes in, and I went a little bit off tangent, more so than usual for YouTube cast. Robo facility pretty early into a very quick Robo base, so it's going to be a disruptor drop opening from PartinG, something really offbeat. Very, very different, obviously, what we saw being a resonating Glaives opener. And I talked a little bit about how that Glaives opener may be dying off in the meta a little bit, but this is not the new meta, right? This is absolutely not the go-to right now. You're not meant to build a Robo facility first and go for a Robo bait. Like, that isn't what we're expecting here. This is absolutely a shock to me. So, a bit of an interesting setup, in all honesty. As we do have the Roche Roran coming down. Serral playing pretty safe. Roche Roran. He seems to have realized it's not an Adept opening, probably from what he saw. I think he saw the Sentry so early. So I'm pretty sure he knows it's not an Adept opening, so he was able to get Lair. That's something you can't usually get if you're playing against Adepts. Well, actually, no, sorry. I'm a little bit slow to the pickup here, and that's just because I'm distracted with my own story. Serral's actually playing like a 2-base Roach, so even if he was playing Adepts, he could play Lair here, because he gave up the 3rd hatchery early, and he got this 3rd hatchery much later than usual. So yeah, he actually plays a very fast Lair into that Roach Roran and Roach Speed. Okay, well, that's fortunate that he's not doing an all-in or anything, because I'd look really dumb not picking up on it sooner. And I have to say as well, PartinG is still indeed going for that Disruptor drop, but no Gravitic Drive like I would have initially expected, in fact. Gravitic Drive is something which you kind of just take for given when someone opens for like a Disruptor drop or something along those lines, So yeah, a little bit different there as these Lings coming up the top side. Force Field goes down to protect those few sentries. Moving up that ramp, Adept and the Sentry setting in the wall off. Going to see that Roach Speed building here too. As we've got our Lings continuing around, and well, not really going to find much of an opportunity. Let's see this Disruptor shot. It'll get a drone and hurt a Queen. I mean, that's not a bad start. We've seen worse, and we've also seen much better, but obviously anything this Disruptor finds over time is generally going to be alright. Nice that these units didn't get picked off, as Serral is going to make the quick switch into Aspire. So into Aspire after those few Roaches, as we do have 8 drones continuing out. This Evolution Chamber going down from Serral, and a few Zerglings continuing all the way out over this left-hand side. A couple of hallucinations from PartinG will go down the left side. Just going to be seeing our Forges about halfway done. A few extra Stalkers continuing to warp in. I'm just going to be seeing that Shield Battery also added on from PartinG on the 3rd base. Drones jumping into Extractors here as our Hallucination gets pushed back into the middle of the map. Blink on the way up. Bane Nest dropping down. Very standard set of occurrences here. Did PartinG spot the Spire? He just did now with this Hallucination. So it really puts a question on Serral as to how much he does with it. And I mean, he is going Bane Nest plus 1 melee. He doesn't necessarily need to use the Spire. he can still keep it and use it later as a transition, right? If he sees an opportunity, right, like, right, I'm going to switch into a bunch of Mutalisks. You could maybe do something like that. In general, I think you could even still make like 6 or 7 meters here because they're going to be very good at pushing that Warp Prism away. As Serral comes in, contaminates the Twilight Council, slowing down that. Yeah, I don't mind a few meters, but it does open up this attack to actually maybe having some potential. As Partin moves forward, he's going to kill an Overlord here as well. Serral's pretty close to being supply blocked. Now, obviously, Partin, I don't think he was expecting to have Blink for this attack anyway, as he gets it out of Contaminate. So yeah, I don't think he's really... I mean, it's not really an attack that usually looks to push. It's just if you could realize that there were meters being made, maybe you do get more aggressive than usual, because there should be less on the ground. There's Roach Ravager right here. Remember there's Disruptors though, and Disruptor's actually really good against Roach Ravager. Even if they don't connect, they force the Roach Ravager to split up and back away. And that movement of splitting up and backing away gives you a lot of time as Parting to get some free shots off, and to maybe actually just kill off a couple of Roaches ahead of time. There's a couple of these probes already going down, so these Mutas get a good start off here. It's going to be 4 workers, 5 workers killed. And the Mutas are going to make a jump over to the natural expansion where a cannon, 2 cannons, and a couple Stalkers warping in. Looking to defend this. These few Mutas moving around. Stalkers able to kill one of the Mutas here. I'm just going to see the Stalker Sentry Army continuing along through the middle. Mutas off to the right side, and just going to be seeing the Bane Nest coming through, the +2 melee coming through. A lot of setting up to be done as a couple of final drones being added into play. Extra Banelings are morphing from Serral. And, well, Serral just ready to deal with another wave of this pressure, which I don't think Partin again really wants to commit to. He's got, you know, again, Disruptors to disengage. He's got Force Fields and a ramp to back away to. It doesn't feel like Partin really wants to go right now. Although he's 55 drones, maybe he really does. 55 drones, I mean 55 probes. It's kind of like 2.5 base saturation. And it felt as though he maybe cut at that probe count for a while. Now he starts up 2 more. Definitely prioritizing units over probes a little bit, though, so that definitely has some potential. As that's a Creep Tumor kill, and the Queen getting hurt, and the Stalkers will blink for the finish up. We'll see if Partin shows us any sign of teching beyond this, right? Charge, maybe thinking. I mean, he's already got the Robobane. But something like Charge, the Temple Archives are additions which can still maybe be seen. Ling's looking for a flank around, but Partin, I feel like he still has options as to how he gets away from this. Yeah, Force Field's down here. Only the Lings can get to the top side. And that's just not really a fight you want to take. But it is 5 Force Fields that are forced here. Serral takes the energy off those sentries. And that's still something I think which he's going to look at with a bit of a positive as we see a few more Banes that start to morph. And now canceling up, backing away to the right-hand side. And we'll have Serral taking a hat-trick to the far left as well, as Lings and Ravagers making their way through this set of rocks right now. So rocks will fall in just a couple of moments. So there go our rocks. Dropping down here as the Warp Prism shows up. Disruptor's going to fire, and that's a dead Queen. So Queen goes down with relative ease already. And again, this is the power of the Disruptors. I mean, we talked about the Mutas. We didn't actually really see them do much. They came in, they got deflected, and they've just kind of hung back to make sure that Warp Prism doesn't go into the main or anything. Could they be a bit more aggressive on the map? It's scary with this many Stalkers, right? But yeah, I think it's maybe even just a talking point that we've just seen so... I've seen so few of them, and seen so little of them in general as well, I guess. As we're going to be having still our Stalker army moving around a little bit. We do have a couple hallucinations down the left side. Ling Bane over off to the right. Just going to see our Stalker Sentry combo moving back around. Well, Robo Facility's about to finish up from Parting, so that's an extra one. He really is making a bid into those Colossi, and alongside that, we're seeing that Temple Archives added in as well. So we are going to be able to get into a little bit of Archons. Storm, probably not, just because he has got Colossi as an option for splash damage. So maybe just Archons initially, and perhaps a little bit further down the line we'll be seeing Storm if this game goes much later. But also the High Templar could just be great if we see Vipers once again. They were obviously the counter to the Colossi in the last game. And Serral on his way to Hive looks as though he might have similar plans for counter here this time around too. As our Lingbane Ravager back through to the middle of the map. And moving around to see where they can get to. You've got the couple of Disruptors and the Warp Prism backing away as well. Still looking for action. I mean, if you can find yourself some shots here, that'd be amazing. I'm trying to get a 4th base. I feel like this is a really important moment. We saw in the last game just how important 4th base was for Partin. And the moment he lost that 4th base, it felt like all hope was really kind of gone in the game. So yeah, being able to get a 4th base up here for real this time might be really nice. If he's allowed to get it up, we'd still actually have this army of Serral may make a bid for this. I mean, it's kind of from one direction. I don't like that. But then the Protoss army is actually on the right and the left, so this is going to get really weird. As we've already got the Banelings crashing through. The Stalkers looking back, but the Banes come in from the right side as well. And with the Banes from the right side, maybe that's just going to make a bit of the difference too. We're going to see a few more corrosive bars going down, and PartinG is able to push this army of Serral away. Ooh, that was a crazy fight. What the hell happened there? 66 new lings in reproduction. We're going to be seeing 22 Banelings in production as well. Now we do have Serral back around the left-hand side. Just backing off from this, so taking a moment to remax, but it was definitely an exciting moment or two. It was a really exciting moment or two, in fact. That was, with especially just the Banes on the right side, kind of, for me, came out of nowhere. And it was like, the Protoss army's got the full surround, but then the Zerg army has a surround on the surround? What even happened? Great Aspire on the way up here from Serral. In the back of the natural, and we're going to be seeing PartinG, Archon, Stalker, Immortal, Colossus, Zealot. All of this joining up together is going to be seeing Serral continuing around into the middle of the map. More Banelings up to the top. Looks like they want to go for a crash through into this base. Knocking down this a couple of pylons. Going to see these Banelings continuing in. And that's going to be a shield battery going down as well. There's now our Ling, Bane, Ravager continuing up the right side here. The Stalkers continuing to get set. I'm just going to be seeing two more High Templar warping in from PartinG as Banes come crashing forward. These Stalkers taking a whole bunch of damage. Nice split away, actually trying to soak up a couple of Banes on their own. Archons are morphing in here as well as we've got a Viper to abduct Colossus straight into the Ravagers. Disruptor shot though. Disruptor shot connects on Ravagers and Banelings. Hello! PartinG, is he going to defend because of that? He very well might. There's not much left. Unfortunately, there's barely any Stalkers, so he can't blink in to chase those Ravagers, and Serral is going to keep those extremely valuable units alive. Oh, that's really something. Keeping those few extra Ravagers alive, that 1,000 gas that sits in these units, that's massive. He just remaxed on 120 Zerglings. This game's absolutely crazy. Around a High Templar warping in. Storm's going to be finishing. +3 attack on the Forge is done. I really don't mind where PartinG is at. I know Serral's remaxed. I know he's kind of got the map. And that's maybe the one thing we could criticize about PartinG, or the one thing we could praise about Serral, is that there's just not really been a lot of pressure on the other bases. You know, Serral has kept the pressure up himself, and so PartinG hasn't had Zealots charging in anyway. Well, he hasn't had charge until just now. And maybe that's just part of the problem. Maybe that's why charge earlier would have been nice, because Serral's had no reason to turn back home and defend, and he's not had to take any drone losses, so he has been just on a free economy. And maybe that's the biggest issue here, despite a great fight from PartinG. Here we go. Oh, Hallucinate Colossus is going to bait the abduct. Gotta love that a little bit, but those Banelings are just crashing through, and I think we're seeing that economy of Serral really just out of control here as Bane's having a great time. Once more, the Ravagers survive the fight. I really can't put into words just how important that is. Oh, no, did I speak too soon? Nice split away from the Disruptor. But he's actually going to chase them down. Oh, this is nice from PartinG because I just talked about why these Ravagers are nice to keep alive. They're expensive to replace. If you don't have to replace those, you really can just build en masse a set of, you know, en masse Zerglings and Banelings to rebuild. Now, you know, you can't play pure Ling Bing. You do need the Ravagers, so having to rebuild a few Roaches here, and maybe this remax of Serral isn't quite as scary as the one before. That's going to be seeing everything joined up together, still moving through the middle. PartinG actually seeing, you know what, I'm on 4 bases. I know you're on a lot more. I need to make things happen. I can't just sit back, but he walks into a Baneling surround. The Disruptor shot is good on all the Ravagers, though. The rest of the Bane showing up, and I just think there's too many Banelings, and again, it's that Zerg economy that makes this just look so good. And it has just been a Zerg economy untouched for 10+ minutes of a lead from Serral. I mean, PartinG is honestly still with an army that's, I want to say it's got some potential, but he's going to lose this Disruptor, and the Colossus gets abducted. There's just no reinforcements to this army, right? There's just not quite enough, really. Here, another abduct, and that Colossus is going to go down. There's no High Templar to stop these Vipers at all, and, you know, a feedback might have made a difference here, too. Because this was a small, scrappy army. Maybe there was a way, but not with the way that Serral's playing it out. Now the Bane's connecting in. These Immortals are continuing to drop on down. We're just going to be seeing a few more Stalkers warping in. Roaches and Ravagers still chased away as this army of PartinG having a fantastic time trying to survive. I mean, I say a fantastic time because he's just microing it well. He's obviously overall in the game not doing great, but he survives another little tail end of a fight. I mean, obviously it's the way that the Zerg player works. He needs to wait for the Banelings to morph in. As these few High Templar still sat in the center. Ling Ravager to the right-hand side. Stalkers coming through, picking off a Zergling there. This pylon going to finish up. Going to be seeing the Banes, the Ravagers, the Lings All of these continue through the top and looking for another fight here. This time the High Templar do find a feedback to start. They're in a little bit of trouble. They will morph into Archons in the front line. The Bane's already arrived, and there's just no splash damage here. There's no efficient way of getting rid of Lings or Banes or anything in between. The Ravagers are then just a backbone to this army that's just going to be way too powerful. Lings are left on the mineral line. Doesn't even waste Banelings on probes. How often do you say that? GG is called. And Serral does pick up the ace match victory that would send the team of Pig through to, I think this was the semi-final, so I believe this would send them through to the grand final. Serral! What a showing, really. Just sick ZvP play. And I gotta give it a point. I really feel like he did a really good job. But there was just that little bit of what was missing, right? I think it's really fair to say we were truly missing from PartinG the counterattacks. You know, we didn't really talk much about Serral's bases, but once you notice them, you're like, well, he is actually just sat on 90 drones and 6 bases, and there was zero attempt from PartinG to really do anything. He never split a warp prism away. And yeah, there was a couple mutas on the map earlier, but there was a time in this game where mutas were not an issue, right? And that's what I'm really talking about here, that there was a lot of opportunities in this game, and that sometimes the opportunities would not have been so good, at other times they were a lot better, but PartinG made no use of any of them. And because of that, Serral really did run away with things here. GG, and he takes that down. Honestly, just a very fun series. And not even a series, obviously, just a very fun couple of games between the two of them. You know, these are the two players you kind of want to watch in ZvP, right? We all love PartinG. Obviously, Serral is fantastic to watch as always. Good games, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Obviously, hit that like and sub button if you don't already. Subscribe. Really appreciate it. Thanks for helping out with all those numbers lately. And of course, new videos every day here on the channel. So I'll see you all tomorrow for another upload here on WardiTV. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.